Shalom from Israel to all of the Daystar viewers around the world. I'm Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer and founder of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 25:5, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And God says in Zechariah 8:16, "These are the things that you shall do. Speak out the truth to one another. Judge with truth and judgment to peace in your gates. And always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rome.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, Benjamin Netanyahu has been reelected as Israel's prime minister. The next phase of the country's thriving democracy is well underway following national elections. President Reuven Rivlin held consultations with representatives of the 10 different parties elected to the 20th Knesset, who each gave him their recommendations as to who should form the next government. After careful consideration, the president went with the majority vote and picked Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as the candidate with the greatest likelihood of successfully forming the new government. Netanyahu has a 42-day period to conduct negotiations with potential cabinet partners and is on the way to becoming Israel's longest-serving prime minister.
After a significant delay, U.S. President Barack Obama telephoned Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to convey congratulations for his victory at the polls. But the 30-minute conversation was described by Israeli officials as very bitter. In his own first comments about the call with Netanyahu, Obama told the Huffington Post that his administration insists that the establishment of a Palestinian state is the only way for Israel to remain Jewish and democratic, in what is widely seen as a fresh rebuke of pre-election statements from Netanyahu. The American president reportedly dismissed the Israeli leader's position that even though his own stance on the two-state solution has not changed, realities in the Middle East have, including last year's reconciliation between the ruling Palestinian Fatah faction and the Hamas terrorist rulers of Gaza, who are committed to Israel's destruction. Obama responded by saying that the White House now intends to reassess its policies in the Middle East, inferring that Washington will no longer automatically stand with Israel at the United Nations and may not exercise its veto power in the Security Council to block Palestinian statehood. This would be a reversal of the strong alliance enjoyed between Israel and the United States over the past 67 years.
Obama's terse remarks to the Israeli prime minister have sparked outrage among Israel's friends in the United States Senate. While support for the Jewish state has long been a point of bipartisan unity, it now seems that only Republicans are standing solidly with America's one true ally in the Middle East. Senator John McCain publicly called on the president to get over his temper tantrum in what the White House interpreted as another rejection of the two-state solution. The Arizona Republican who chairs the Senate Armed Services Committee went on to say that the least of Obama's problems should be what Netanyahu said during an election campaign. GOP senators are now threatening to withdraw American funding for the United Nations if, in fact, the Obama administration's reevaluation of Middle East policy includes a failure to block Security Council recognition of unilateral steps taken by the Palestinians.
In yet another incomprehensible Israel-bashing move, the United Nations top women's rights body has singled out only one nation out of the 193 member states for violating women's rights: Israel. During the 59th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, governments and representatives censored the Jewish state despite the country's sterling record. Israel diligently enforces its Declaration of Independence, ensuring absolute equality of social and political rights for all inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or gender. Every citizen over the age of 18 has the right to vote, including Christian, Muslim, and Jewish women and men. Women's votes were considered to be a key factor during the recent elections that resulted in the victories of a record number of female members of Knesset for the third consecutive election. In 2009, there were 21 women MKs, which rose to 27 in 2013 and 28 in 2015. The current enrollment amounts to slightly more than 23% of the Knesset, which is significantly higher than the less than 20% of women who serve in the U.S. Congress and far higher than the 17.6% who were elected to governments in the European Union. The CSW made no mention of the systematic rape and torture of women used as a tactic of war worldwide, particularly by the Syrian government of Bashar al-Assad. Nor was Saudi Arabia condemned for forbidding women to vote or charging rape victims with criminal charges, as is also the case in Morocco. Just this week, the Jordanian Amman news website reported that over 10,000 underage girls were married in the Hashemite Kingdom in 2014, a statistic the CSW also chose to ignore. In addition, the UN group also is turning a blind eye to the World Economic Forum that publishes the preeminent rankings on gender gap issues, finding even Saudi Arabia 10th from the bottom of offending nations that include Mali, Morocco, Iran, the Ivory Coast, Mauritania, Syria, Chad, Pakistan, and Yemen.
Republican Senator Ted Cruz of Texas has topped worldwide headlines by becoming the first person from either party to formally announce his candidacy for the 2016 presidential campaign. The conservative Tea Party favorite kicked off his bid for the presidency with an announcement at the Evangelical Christian Liberty University in Virginia. Cruz is considered to be one of the most pro-Israel members of the U.S. Senate and has repeatedly stated that ties between the two nations are unbreakable. He strongly backed Prime Minister Netanyahu's congressional speech in March and said that a nuclear-armed Iran would pose the gravest threat to both Israel and the U.S. Cruz has also made clear his belief that the reconciliation agreement between Fatah and Hamas demonstrates that Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas is certainly not negotiating in good faith with Israel, negating the possibility of reaching a peace accord during the current climate.
Many global security analysts were shocked by the removal of both Iran and its proxy Hezbollah terror organization from this year's worldwide threat assessment and left wondering why there was so little media coverage about the development. The annual report was delivered to the U.S. Senate by the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. After years of featuring highly and similar reports, the move is being interpreted as coming in response to the battle against the Sunni-based Islamic terror group, which is carving out a self-proclaimed radical caliphate across Syria and Iraq, both of whose governments are allied with Iran. The Lebanon-based Hezbollah group, which is funded by Iran, also continues to support the Syrian regime by deploying fighters, trainers, and advisors to back the Damascus government. It also comes as the White House continues its efforts to reach a nuclear accord with Tehran, rejected by conservatives as a dangerous impending agreement. Israeli defense officials have long warned that Iran and its terrorist proxies are sowing instability in the region and are now voicing concern over the stunning reversal to remove them from the Obama administration's assessments of dangers posed to world security.
President Obama issued greetings to the Iranian people and their leaders as the hardline Islamic Republic celebrated the festival of Nowruz. The holiday marks the start of spring and the beginning of the Iranian New Year, according to the Persian calendar. The American leader heaped praise on his Iranian counterpart, Hassan Rouhani, and Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei for their reassurances that Tehran will not develop nuclear weapons. He also used the occasion to issue a statement calling for the release of Christian pastor Saeed Abedini, who's been imprisoned in Iran for 2.5 years because of his religious beliefs. In his message, Obama said that American families are enduring painful separations from their loved ones who are detained or missing in Iran. He also called for the release of 3 other Americans believed to be held by Tehran. However, according to Will Hall of the Christian Examiner, the online posting is not an official diplomatic communication, and it's not clear why the White House chose this medium to engage on the issue, while U.S. officials are currently in direct contact with Iranian negotiators attempting to forge a deal regarding the country's controversial nuclear program. Pastor Abedini has reportedly sustained prolonged internal injuries due to beatings in prison, where he's serving an 8-year sentence. After growing up in Iran, he moved to the United States and converted to Christianity. He returned to Iran to carry out Christian work and was first arrested in 2009 and interrogated over his conversion. He was rearrested in 2012 while working on an orphanage project and he was again imprisoned after being convicted on charges of endangering national security and attempting to turn Iranians away from Islam.
As anti-Semitic incidents in the United Kingdom reached their highest ever levels in 2014, 7 British Christian groups are calling for increased support for Israel and are circulating a declaration expressing appreciation for the Jewish state as being a safe haven for Christians. In the document, called the Shalom Declaration, the members point out that Israel is the only country in the Middle East which extends freedom of worship to all of its citizens and where the Christian community is growing. They go on to condemn anti-Semitism and call for greater efforts to combat anti-Jewish acts. The declaration expresses the group's grief, saying that they stand with the families in Israel and the wider Middle East who have lost loved ones, and with all who are persecuted by the rise of violent extremism and intolerance in the region. The statement has been endorsed by the Christian Embassy Jerusalem, the Christian Friends of Israel, as well as in individual churches and by prayer groups. A consultant with the Board of Deputies of British Jews, Stephen Jaffe, called the move a powerful reminder that we have strong friends in the Christian community who wish to promote the cause of peace in a way which recognizes Israel as the only democracy in the Middle East. The Shalom Declaration is expected to be signed by more than 800 Christians at a gathering in Westminster later this month, as well as meetings of the Edinburgh Friends of Israel and another Christian event in Northern Ireland.
U.S. Congressman Shaku Fatah was recently in Israel, where he was the keynote speaker at the Brain Tech 2015 event in Tel Aviv. The conference brings together scientists and officials from around the world to discuss the latest in brain research. Fatah is the leading congressman on the House of Representatives Commerce, Justice, and Science Appropriations Subcommittee, in charge of allocating federal funds for science and medical research. He's a longtime admirer of Israeli innovation, particularly in the field of neuroscience. And as chairman of the Fatah Neuroscience Initiative, he represented an umbrella group of policymakers who gather a wide range of research produced by federal agencies. During a panel discussion on brain science initiatives, the Democratic lawmaker pointed out that Israel is close behind the United States and the European Union in overall breakthroughs in neuroscience. But when measured by per capita standards, Israel is the leader. He told the Times of Israel that he's convinced the pulse of international consensus starts in Israel, and he and other participants came to seize the neuroscience moment and to change the world because there's no better place to accomplish that. Fatah said only in Israel has he witnessed such remarkable progress in neuroscience, such as ReWalk, that produces an exoskeleton enabling paraplegics to take steps. He said he saw an IDF veteran who was in a wheelchair for 20 years get up and walk, and it was an amazing thing to witness. Former Israeli President Shimon Peres also addressed the 500 attendees, saying that there are now over 100 companies in Israel entirely devoted to neuroscience, and that Israel should be recognized as a startup in the brain.
And that concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful day on our rooftop studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Ben Goldman, the co-founder of Quark. Ben, thank you for being on the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're always excited by new startups in Israel. We're the startup nation, and I understand that Quark is a very exciting development in the social media world. Tell us a little about Quark.
Quark is essentially, it's a social network, but it's for your local area. So we're all about connecting you with your local community, so that way you can share things that are happening around you, like local news, or ask a question to other locals, or post a review of a business. And really, it's that focus on local, on local social that really differentiates us from other social media networks.
I don't know much about social media. I'm a novice in that department, but what would be different from what you're doing then if, let's say, a Facebook would just do a page about a local business?
Right, so the thing that we say about Quark is that really it's about the differentiator in the audience. So on Facebook you're connecting with your friends, and on Twitter you're connecting with people around the world, but on Cork you're connecting with other people in your local community. And then we also have a number of enhancements and features to really focus in on that local element. So we have a map that you can explore content through, and we have a user ranking system that ranks locals in your area according to the quality of their contributions. And really it's that focus on being a dedicated platform for your local community that Facebook or existing social media doesn't quite capture.
It seems like there's social media sites popping up all the time. There's Facebook, there's Tumblr, there's Instagram. There's all these different sites coming up. How do people find out about this?
So fortunately for Cork, the initial world's reaction to it has been really incredible so far. And I think it's because Cork is really doing something unique, which is that by focusing on the local community, we're kind of filling a void that exists right now in social media, because you have Instagram, you have Tumblr, you have Facebook, Twitter, but though those have been successful in connecting you with a global community, what's kind of been left out is this local community aspect. And so that's where Cork really tries to differentiate itself and step in to provide some unique value. In terms of finding out about us, we've been very fortunate that the press has really been extremely positive in receiving us. We've gotten responses from all over the world, from almost every single continent, and people are really seeing something unique inside Cork, an opportunity to really connect with their local community in a way that no other kind of social media is providing. And that kind of gets to the heart of Cork, which is that we're trying to bring back this feeling of a local town square.
Yeah, something that's very interesting about social media is that it seems to be eclipsing mainstream media. And where do you see the future of this ending? Do you think there really will be normal newspapers and mainstream television studios and shows like mine on TV, or is it all moving towards the social media?
Yeah, so one of the things that we say with Cork is that we're trying to actually reinvigorate some forms of traditional media. And one of those is the hyperlocal blog or news site, or even the local paper. So right now inside these local communities you do have this old media, and they're still trying to provide an immense amount of value by covering local politics or local human interest stories. And they're posting it to 100 different sites or event sites, news sites. And so one of the things with Cork that we want to do is provide a single unified platform for them to share their content to. So in a way, Cork could actually help reinvigorate some old forms of media and provide like a great partner for them.
We have a long history together. You worked with the IDF in their spokesperson department, used to do videos here from the IDF for Israel Now News. And it just is astonishing to me that people, leave the army, leave university, and just start their own companies in Israel. Like, bam! So many people I know are starting these startups and doing new things. Where is the innovation all coming from? How is it that in this country specifically, everyone has ideas, knows how to bring it to a platform? Where is it all coming from?
Well, you kind of nailed it. Israel does have this incredible environment of innovation and creativity. I mean, even the other co-founder, Adam May, I met while serving in Dover Tzahal in the IDF spokesperson's unit while in the Army. And it kind of permeates everything, whether it is in the spokesperson's unit itself, where people are always trying to innovate and find new ways to get the message out about Israel, or even in the private sector, where you have a lot of startups emerging who are looking at the world from a new angle and seeing how they can provide unique value and really help provide some progress in the world and make the world a better place.
Ben, there are literally tens of millions of people watching the show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
Well, the message I have for the viewing audience is that I really want people to start thinking about their local community and to think about how technology can play a part in that. It's kind of a shame because while technology has enriched so many aspects of our lives, at the same time community engagement is dropping, and I think that's a shame because there's so much richness that people get from community and so much value in life that you get from connecting with nearby people. And so really we want Cork to be able to step in and provide some of that value. We want it to make you feel connected to your local community again.
Thanks, Ben, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, shining light from Israel.
Perhaps you think you know about Israel. But did you know that with a population of only 7 million, less than 1/1000th of the world's population, Israel has developed a range of important technologies that help save lives while helping us to live better ones. For example, the first cell phone was developed by Motorola at their largest R&D center located in Israel. Microsoft, Cisco, and Intel also have major R&D facilities in Israel. An Israeli company, Given, developed an ingestible camera that fits inside a pill and is helping doctors provide better diagnoses and treatment. Israeli scientists also created the first fully computerized, no-radiation diagnostic instrument for breast cancer. Israel has produced major breakthroughs in drip irrigation to reduce water required for agriculture, has led in solar power innovations, and was the only country to begin the 21st century with a net gain in the number of trees, a remarkable achievement for this desert country. There are more scientists per number of workers in Israel than anywhere in the world, each one of whom is busy working on innovations that will improve the health, safety, and productivity of all of us. When you really know about Israel, you'll be amazed at how much this little country is doing to help your life and the lives of the ones you love. Get to know an Israel you only thought you knew by searching Israeli innovations online or by visiting this beautiful land and its people to discover Israel for yourself.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
We are here at the backyard of the Christian Embassy, and what you see behind me is our staff packing special Passover boxes for needy families here in Israel. In Israel today, 1/3 of the population is living below the poverty line. In particular, the city of Jerusalem here is hit in a particular way by poverty. So the Christian Embassy is dedicated to meet the needs of the poor people here in this land, in particular during the time of the Passover celebration.
The economic situation in Israel is in general fine, but there's hundreds of thousands of families that both men and women are working and haven't got enough money to buy everything they need. Pesach is one of the two holidays, important holidays in Israel. And that's the reason we see those families, because even help of 2,000 or 200 or 300 shekels mean a lot for them.
Since 1980, the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem, has had the privilege of working in Israel. And over the years, we've been able to provide assistance for many families at the Passover holiday. Passover is a time of remembering the redemption that God did for His people in bringing them up out of Egypt. And we want to help as many families as possible to be able to celebrate this holiday with joy.
Sadly, we are always in a position where we have to approach other people for help. It is a huge effort for these organizations and people from abroad that are thinking about us. They also have their own countries and people, so to think about others and me is truly something to think for.
This year, we would like to be able to assist 500 or more families to celebrate the Passover holiday with dignity, but we need your help. For a gift of $100, you can help one family with the basic provisions needed for the Passover Seder. For the Ethiopian community, life is difficult in Israel, and especially at the holidays.
Israel, life is very high. Most of the women doesn't work, only the men workers, and most of them are very old, and also they are not very well healthy. This help is very helpful for them, especially for the Passover. They need it.
I have no other words but to thank you for what I have received for the holidays. My kids and I thank you very much, and I thank you for the social worker that arranged for everything which allowed the organization to come. Because of your help, I will have a good holiday. Thank you for everything. I wish a happy Pesach to you and to your families. Thank you.
The fact that Christians like you show their love and support of the Jewish people by sending gifts at the Passover holiday truly touches hearts, and it makes a difference. So please visit our website today and give, and ensure another family will be able to celebrate the holiday with joy.
The message what we want to bring to the Jewish people during this week is that there are Christians all around the world which stand at the side of the nation of Israel during this very important holiday season, the Passover holiday. It's a gift from millions of Christians around the world to the Jewish people, and I want to thank you for making that possible, to bring this blessing at this very important season during the year here in the land of Israel.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.